In every man's life there comes a moment when he must stand before the mirror of truth and ask himself, am I living the life I deserve, or the life I have settled for? The difference between the two is not written in the stars, nor in the circumstances of birth, but in the dominion a man holds over his own mind. The mind is the master key. It can open the door to abundance or lock you in the prison of mediocrity. Nature has already placed in your hands the power to shape your destiny, yet most allow it to rust through neglect, fear, or doubt. To get what you truly deserve, you must first conquer the battlefield within to command your thoughts, discipline your beliefs, and focus your energy with unwavering clarity. It is not the world that withholds your reward, it is your own acceptance of limitation. The man who learns to master his mindset can bend circumstances to his will, transform obstacles into stepping stones, and claim not merely what is possible, but what is rightfully his. Your mind is the master key. Control it, and you control your destiny. This truth has stood the test of time, for in the annals of history, every great achievement was first born in the silent chambers of the human mind. Before the grand cathedrals rose from the earth, they existed as visions in the minds of architects. Before great fortunes were amassed, they were conceived as ideas in the minds of daring men and women. The human mind, like a fertile field, will return in kind whatever you plant within it, be it weeds of fear and doubt, or seeds of ambition and faith. Yet most people allow their minds to be ruled by the ever-changing winds of circumstance, letting external events dictate their thoughts, moods, and actions. They hand over the master key of their own destiny to the opinions of others, to the fleeting nature of chance, and to the paralyzing grip of uncertainty. When you grasp the truth that your mind is the command center of your life, you begin to understand why the successful do not bow to the whims of fate. They hold fast to their inner vision, refusing to be shaken by the storms that destroy the dreams of weaker men. They have learned the art of directing their thoughts toward definite ends, knowing that what the mind consistently dwells upon, it will inevitably bring to pass. This is not mere optimism. It is the immutable law of cause and effect working through the medium of human thought. Every thought you permit to occupy your mind takes root, and from that root will spring fruit in your life. Therefore, if your mind is occupied with thoughts of lack, failure, and limitation, your outer world will bear the same bitter harvest. But if your mind is disciplined to dwell upon abundance, progress, and the certainty of achievement, your circumstances will gradually reshape themselves to mirror those dominating thoughts. The mind is a double-edged tool. It can create or destroy, elevate or debase, liberate or enslave. Those who fail to recognize its power are like a man holding a sword by the blade, cutting himself again and again without understanding the cause of his wounds. Mastery of the mind begins with awareness. You must become the watchman at the gate, deciding with purpose what thoughts shall be admitted and what thoughts shall be cast out. Each time you allow a thought of fear or self-doubt to linger, you invite that thought to take form in your reality. Each time you replace it with a thought of strength and certainty, you send a signal to the unseen forces of the universe that you are ready to claim what is yours. No man can rise above the quality of his dominant thoughts. The rich man may lose his fortune, but if he has mastered his mind, he can rebuild it. For the source of his wealth was never the money itself, but the mental power that attracted it. The leader may lose his position, but if he has mastered his mind, he can lead again, for leadership springs from inner authority, not from titles bestowed by others. The man of genius may see his creations destroyed, but if he has mastered his mind, he can create again, for genius lives in the disciplined imagination. This is why those who have attained greatness in any field speak of mindset as the foundation upon which all else rests. They know that without mental mastery, no amount of opportunity, talent, or resources can be sustained. To control your mind, you must first accept full responsibility for it. You cannot blame the environment, the past, or the behavior of others for the state of your thoughts. While you may not control the events of life, you can always control your response to them. This power, when understood and applied, separates the man who drifts through life from the man who steers it. The drifter reacts to every stimulus like a ship tossed by the tide. The master of his mind, however, acts according to a deliberate plan, charting a course toward his chosen destination, regardless of the winds that blow against him. Training the mind requires discipline, just as training the body requires consistent exercise. You cannot expect to master your mindset by occasional bursts of motivation. It demands daily practice, the constant redirection of thought from what you fear toward what you desire, from the problems you face to the solutions you seek, from the limitations you see to the opportunities you can create. This is the reason the great thinkers and achievers have always practiced visualization, affirmations, and the deliberate cultivation of positive mental attitudes. They understand that the mind, like a muscle, grows stronger and more obedient through persistent use. Consider for a moment the gardener who tends his land with care. He does not plant seeds and then leave them to chance. He waters them daily, removes the weeds, protects them from pests, and ensures they receive sunlight. Likewise, you must tend to the garden of your mind. Each positive thought is a seed. Each repetition of that thought is like water to the soil. Each moment you reject fear and refuse to entertain failure, you are pulling out the weeds that would otherwise choke the life out of your desires. Over time, the harvest becomes inevitable, for the law of growth applies as surely to thought as it does to plants. The mind operates under the great law that whatever is impressed upon it through repetition, belief, and emotional intensity will manifest in physical form. You cannot entertain a thought with conviction and not see it shape your actions, your habits, and ultimately your results. This is why the careless thinker often wonders why misfortune follows him. He does not realize that he himself is the architect of his troubles, having built them brick by brick through the masonry of his own thought. But just as a man can tear down a faulty structure and build anew, so can he change his life by changing his thoughts. Your mind is constantly creating, either building the life you desire or constructing the very walls that confine you. The choice is yours to make each moment. Control it, and you hold the master key that unlocks the doors to health, wealth, love, and purpose. Neglect it, and you leave that key in the hands of circumstance, luck, and the will of others, making yourself a servant to forces you could have commanded. The mind will obey, but it will not decide for itself what to serve. That is the duty of the one who owns it. Definiteness of purpose is the compass that guides you to your rightful rewards. Without a clearly defined aim, the human mind is like a ship adrift at sea, moved this way and that by the shifting winds of circumstance, never reaching any meaningful destination. The man who does not know precisely what he wants from life will find himself spending his days reacting to the demands of others, surrendering his time and energy to purposes that are not his own. He may work tirelessly, yet his efforts scatter in all directions, producing little of value for himself because there is no central target to unify his actions. Just as no captain would set sail without first charting a course, no individual should venture into the arena of life without fixing in his mind a definite and worthy goal. The power of definiteness of purpose lies in its ability to channel thought, emotion, and action into a concentrated force. When your aim is clear, every decision becomes simpler because it is measured against a single standard. Does this bring me closer to my objective or lead me away from it? Clarity of purpose eliminates hesitation, for there is no need to wonder which path to take. The goal itself dictates the route. This singularity of aim turns even small actions into steps toward a greater end, while the man without purpose wastes his strength on movements that take him nowhere. A definite purpose acts upon the mind much like a magnet upon iron filings, drawing to itself the resources, opportunities, and people necessary for its fulfillment. Once your mind is fixed upon a specific aim with intensity and persistence, it begins to filter out distractions and recognize possibilities that previously went unnoticed. Where others see only obstacles, you will see stepping stones. Where others drift past opportunity, you will grasp it, for your mind has been trained to detect anything that can serve your cause. This is not mysticism, but the natural operation of a focused intellect. Just as a lens can concentrate scattered rays of sunlight into a point hot enough to ignite fire, so can a mind concentrate scattered thoughts into a point powerful enough to ignite achievement. History offers endless testimony to the fact that men and women who achieve greatness invariably possess definiteness of purpose. The inventors who changed the world, the leaders who shaped nations, the artists whose works endure for centuries all began with a vision so clear and compelling that it demanded their complete allegiance. They endured hardship, ridicule, and failure, yet they pressed forward because their goal burned brighter than any temporary defeat. Without such definiteness, they would have abandoned their course at the first sign of resistance. The absence of definiteness is one of the chief causes of failure. The man without a fixed aim is easily swayed by the opinions of others, adopting one idea today and discarding it tomorrow, never sticking with any plan long enough to see it bear fruit. He allows circumstances to dictate his path rather than shaping circumstances to suit his design. He becomes a wanderer, moving from one pursuit to the next, mistaking activity for progress. His life may be filled with motion, but like a spinning wheel stuck in the mud, he goes nowhere. To develop definiteness of purpose, one must first engage in honest self-examination. What is it that you truly want, not what others expect of you, not what is fashionable in your time, but what stirs your soul and awakens your ambition? The aim must be your own, for borrowed purposes lack the emotional fire necessary to sustain effort over time. When you select a purpose, commit it to writing, define it in the clearest possible terms, and imprint it upon your mind until it becomes a living image. Vague desires such as "I want to be successful" are insufficient. They are like trying to navigate with a map that shows no roads. The goal must be precise, measurable, and vivid in detail so that you can see it in your mind as clearly as if it already existed. Once your purpose is defined, all your plans, habits, and associations must be brought into harmony with it. This often requires pruning away activities that do not serve your aim, no matter how pleasant or convenient they may be. It may require the courage to distance yourself from people whose influence leads you away from your chosen path. It will certainly demand that you rise above the distractions of the day and hold fast to the vision when temporary defeat threatens to shake your resolve. The man of definiteness does not surrender his purpose to comfort or convenience. He is willing to endure the disciplines necessary to see it fulfilled. A definite purpose also acts as a source of energy. When you know exactly where you are going, fatigue loses much of its power over you. The tasks that would seem tedious to a man without aim become meaningful to you, for each one is a step toward your chosen end. Obstacles cease to be discouragements and become tests of worthiness, challenges that strengthen the will and sharpen the intellect. The mind, when fired by a definite aim, draws upon reserves of strength you did not know existed, for it is the nature of purpose to awaken the full measure of a man's capacities. This definiteness must also be accompanied by belief in the worthiness and attainability of the goal. A purpose without belief is like a map without the will to travel. It will not move you to action. You must see your aim as both desirable and within your reach, even if the path to it is not yet clear. This faith acts as the emotional fuel that sustains persistence when results are slow in appearing. It transforms the purpose from a mere wish into a command to the mind, a demand that it find a way to bring the vision into reality. In the absence of definiteness, life becomes a series of disconnected episodes, each beginning with enthusiasm and ending with disappointment. With definiteness, life becomes a continuous march toward a clearly envisioned destination. Each day has direction, each action has meaning, and each challenge is met with the confidence that it is simply another step on the path you have chosen. It is the difference between wandering aimlessly in the wilderness and walking with steady pace toward the summit of a mountain you have resolved to climb. The man who possesses definiteness of purpose is seldom found complaining about his lot in life, for he knows that he is the author of his own destiny. He does not waste time envying the success of others, for his attention is fixed on building his own. He does not dabble in dozens of pursuits, for he understands that mastery and reward come only to those who concentrate their efforts. He measures his progress not against the expectations of the crowd, but against the vision he has set for himself, and in this way he remains immune to the shifting tides of public opinion. Faith and persistence transform unseen potential into tangible achievement. Every great success begins as an intangible, a thought, an idea, a vision that exists only in the mind of its creator. At this stage it is invisible to the eyes of the world, without form or substance, and therefore easy for the doubter to dismiss. Yet the man of faith does not require the evidence of sight. He knows that the seed contains within it the oak, that the idea contains within it the empire, and that the dream, when acted upon with persistence, will one day stand as a visible reality. Faith is the force that sustains the mind in the absence of proof, and persistence is the discipline that continues the work until the proof appears. Together, they form the bridge between the possible and the actual. Faith is not a vague hope or a timid wish. It is a deep, unwavering conviction that what you seek is already possible for you, and that the forces of life will conspire to aid you once you commit yourself fully. This conviction acts as a mental magnet, drawing to you ideas, resources, and opportunities that remain hidden from the mind filled with doubt. The man who lacks faith will hesitate at the first sign of difficulty, retreating into the safety of the familiar, but the man of faith presses forward, interpreting every challenge as evidence that he is on the path to something worthwhile. He understands that obstacles are not signals to stop, but invitations to grow stronger. Persistence is the natural companion of faith. Without persistence, even the strongest belief will wither under the pressure of time and resistance. Many begin their journey filled with enthusiasm, only to abandon their efforts when results do not appear quickly. They mistake the delay for denial, not realizing that the process of creation often requires seasons of preparation before the harvest can be reaped. Persistence is the decision to continue sowing, watering, and tending the crop, even when the field shows no sign of growth. It is the refusal to quit, the willingness to keep moving forward, one step at a time, until the goal is attained. When faith and persistence work together, they create a mental state that is immune to defeat. Temporary setbacks, which would crush the spirit of the uncertain, serve only to sharpen the resolve of the man who possesses both. He sees in every failure a lesson, in every delay a test, and in every hardship a chance to strengthen his character. This unbreakable spirit is what allows men and women of destiny to endure the trials that destroy the ambitions of the average. The world is filled with abandoned dreams because their owners lacked either the conviction to believe in them or the endurance to pursue them through adversity. Faith opens the door to possibilities that logic alone cannot justify. The rational mind often demands visible proof before it will act, but by the time such proof appears, the opportunity may have passed. Faith allows you to act on the unseen, to invest your energy and resources in a vision before the evidence of its success is available. It is this capacity to act without certainty that separates the pioneer from the follower, the creator from the consumer. The great industrialists, inventors, and leaders acted on faith in their ideas long before the world believed in them. Had they waited for public approval, their breakthroughs would have been lost to hesitation. Persistence ensures that the work continues after the initial excitement fades. There are moments in every pursuit when progress slows, when every effort seems to yield no result, and when the temptation to quit whispers that the goal was unrealistic from the start. This is the critical testing ground where persistence proves its value. By continuing in the face of discouragement, you develop the endurance that makes eventual victory possible. The man who persists is often not the one with the greatest talent or resources, but he is the one who refuses to stop, and thus outlasts those who began with more but quit too soon. The relationship between faith and persistence is much like the relationship between vision and action. Faith provides the inner vision, the ability to see the finished result in your mind with such clarity that it becomes a source of inspiration. Persistence is the outer action, the repeated, deliberate effort to move closer to that vision day after day. Remove either element, and the process collapses. Faith without persistence is a dream that never leaves the mind. Persistence without faith is mechanical labor without the fire of conviction, easily abandoned because it lacks emotional fuel. Together, they produce results that neither could achieve alone. Faith also influences the quality of your persistence. When you truly believe that your goal is attainable, you approach each day's work with a sense of purpose and expectation. The labor no longer feels like drudgery because you are convinced that every step is bringing you closer to the outcome. Even the smallest tasks gain significance, for they are connected to a cause you have accepted as certain. In contrast, when you lack faith, your persistence is half-hearted, burdened by doubt, and easily broken by the first sign of difficulty. Persistence, in turn, strengthens faith. Each small victory, each problem solved, each challenge overcome provides tangible evidence that your goal is indeed possible. The longer you endure, the more proof you accumulate, and the more your belief solidifies. What was once a matter of trust in the unseen gradually becomes a matter of confidence in what you have already accomplished. This feedback loop between faith and persistence creates a self-reinforcing momentum that grows stronger with time, making success not just possible, but inevitable. It is important to understand that faith is a choice, not a gift bestowed upon the lucky few. You can cultivate it by deliberately focusing your mind on the positive possibilities rather than the negative probabilities. You can strengthen it by surrounding yourself with examples of others who have achieved what you seek, by studying their stories and recognizing that they, too, began with nothing more than an idea and the willingness to act. Persistence, likewise, is within your control. It is simply the decision, made anew each day, to keep going despite weariness, distraction, or opposition. The man who decides in advance that he will not quit removes from himself the burden of reconsidering that decision in moments of weakness. In the end, the combination of faith and persistence is the foundation upon which all lasting achievement rests. Without faith, you will not begin. Without persistence, you will not finish. But with both, you can take the invisible substance of thought and shape it into the concrete reality of your choosing. The resources you need, the skills you must develop, the allies you will meet along the way, all are drawn to the man who believes deeply in his purpose and works tirelessly toward it, day after day, year after year, until the vision in his mind stands before him as a living fact. Self-discipline is the bridge between desire and deserved success. Every man carries within him desires, the longing for wealth, the aspiration for influence, the dream of building a life that reflects his highest vision. Yet desire alone has never built an empire, created a masterpiece, or produced lasting prosperity. Desire is the spark that ignites the fire, but without the fuel of self, discipline, that spark flickers out, leaving behind only unfulfilled hopes. Self-discipline is the force that transforms fleeting inspiration into consistent action, guiding the individual to do what must be done, whether he feels like it or not, until the desired result is achieved. At its core, self-discipline is the mastery of self. It is the ability to control impulses, resist temptations, and direct energy toward a chosen objective without being swayed by momentary distractions. The man who masters himself is greater than the man who conquers a city, for external victories can be undone by others, but self-mastery is a fortress that no enemy can breach. Without it, talents are wasted, opportunities slip away, and even the most promising beginnings collapse under the weight of inconsistency. Self-discipline turns goals into commitments. Many speak of what they wish to accomplish, but only those with discipline transform those wishes into daily habits that move them closer to their aims. It is easy to dream of success. It is far harder to rise early to work on it, to study when others are at leisure, to persist in practice when results are slow. The disciplined man does not rely on moods or inspiration to determine his actions. He acts according to a plan, and the plan is followed regardless of emotional state. This constancy is what allows him to make steady progress where others stumble and stall. It is the nature of desire to demand immediate satisfaction, but it is the nature of self-discipline to delay gratification for the sake of greater rewards. The man who chooses the passing pleasure over the lasting gain sacrifices his future for the comfort of the moment. The man of discipline makes the opposite choice, enduring temporary discomfort for the sake of a vision that matters more than present ease. This willingness to endure the short-term pain of effort, sacrifice, and restraint is the price paid for achievements that endure. Self-discipline also provides the focus necessary to avoid being scattered among too many pursuits. In a world filled with distractions, the undisciplined mind is constantly drawn away from its central purpose by the lure of novelty. Projects are begun and abandoned, energy is spread thin across trivial tasks, and the individual ends the year no closer to his goal than when he began. The disciplined mind, on the other hand, selects its priorities and excludes everything that does not serve them. This singularity of attention allows progress to compound over time, producing results that seem extraordinary to the casual observer, but are, in truth, the product of years of consistent effort. The connection between self-discipline and deserved success lies in the fact that success is never given without a corresponding level of responsibility. To receive and sustain the rewards you seek, you must first prove yourself capable of managing them. Wealth without discipline is soon squandered. Power without discipline leads to corruption. Opportunity without discipline results in wasted potential. The discipline you practice in the pursuit of your goal becomes the very foundation that enables you to maintain it once it is achieved. In this way, discipline is not only the bridge to success, but also the safeguard of it. Self-discipline demands that you master your time. Time is the one resource that cannot be replaced, yet the undisciplined squander it in idle talk, meaningless entertainment, and unproductive habits. The disciplined man treats time as a treasure, investing it only in those activities that yield a return toward his purpose. He guards his hours against theft, whether by the demands of others or the lure of procrastination. By organizing his days and adhering to a schedule, he ensures that progress is made steadily, regardless of circumstance. Another mark of self-discipline is the control of thought. The mind left undirected will wander into doubt, fear, and self-pity. undermining the very actions that lead to success. The disciplined mind is trained to reject thoughts that weaken and to replace them with thoughts that strengthen. It refuses to dwell on past failures longer than is necessary to learn their lessons and moves swiftly to the present work at hand. This mental control ensures that energy is not wasted on emotions or ideas that do not serve the desired end. Self-discipline extends beyond work habits to the care of the body and spirit. The disciplined individual recognizes that physical health is the foundation upon which all ambition rests. He maintains habits of proper rest, nutrition, and exercise, not as acts of vanity, but as acts of preparation for the demands of his purpose. Likewise, he disciplines his emotions, keeping them under control so they serve rather than sabotage his aims. He neither allows anger to lead him into rash decisions, nor lets discouragement cause him to abandon his efforts. One of the most challenging aspects of self-discipline is maintaining it in the face of repeated failures. It is easy to stay disciplined when success comes quickly, but the true test is found in those seasons when results are delayed and effort seems unrewarded. In such times, the undisciplined abandon their plans, but the disciplined persist, trusting the process and their own commitment to see it through. They understand that mastery is forged in the furnace of consistency, and that each day's disciplined action builds upon the last until the weight of effort tips the scales in their favor. Discipline is also contagious. It inspires respect and trust from others. People are naturally drawn to those who display reliability, consistency, and control, for these qualities are rare and valuable. Opportunities are often extended to the disciplined, not merely because of their skill, but because they have proven they can be counted on to follow through. Employers, partners, and allies prefer the one who keeps his word and maintains his standard over the one who works in bursts and breaks under pressure. Self-discipline can be developed through deliberate practice. It begins with small commitments, keeping a promise to yourself, finishing a task you would rather abandon, resisting a minor temptation, and grows stronger with each victory over impulse. These small acts of control build the willpower necessary for greater challenges. Over time, what was once difficult becomes habit, and the effort required to maintain discipline lessens as the mind and body adapt to the new standard. In truth, self-discipline is not a restriction, but a liberation. It frees you from the tyranny of impulse, from the wasted energy of indecision, and from the regret of unfulfilled potential. It allows you to live with intention, shaping each day in service of your higher aims rather than being swept along by circumstance. Through discipline, you gain mastery over yourself, and in mastering yourself, you gain the ability to master your environment, your opportunities, and your future. In the final analysis, the life you deserve is not granted by chance, nor withheld by some distant power. It is shaped by the mastery of your own mind, the clarity of your purpose, the unshakable union of faith and persistence, and the unwavering discipline to act in harmony with your highest vision. These are not lofty ideals meant only for the few. They are principles within the reach of every man and woman who will claim them. Your mind is the master key. Guard it and direct it with intention. Your purpose is your compass. Hold it steady no matter how fierce the storm. Your faith is the unseen force that carries you when the path is dark, and your persistence is the strength that keeps you moving until the dawn breaks. Your discipline is the bridge that turns desire into reality, ensuring that the rewards you seek are not only attained but sustained. Life will always reflect the measure of mastery you exercise over yourself. If you would have more, you must become more, for the outer world will always bow to the inner one. The tools are in your hands, and the power to use them is in your will.